Hi, I'm going to talk about what I love about Radiohead. But before that, if this is your first time here and you like listening to rock covers or alternate indie covers, maybe you're learning guitar and want to learn how to play some great songs, or maybe you want to hear my own original material, then click subscribe and click the little bell icon as well so you don't miss a single video.
Con might say.
So, Radiohead. This is all part of my What I Love About series, where I go through various different bands and tell you what I love about them. The last video I did was about Blur, and you can watch it there. Now, on that last video, to be honest, it was my first one doing it, and it was a bit shit, really. So I'm going to make this one a bit more interesting, a bit better. Radiohead are in my top 10, I would say. Top 10 favourite bands of all time. Grew up with them in the 90s. I have to be in a particular mood to listen to them. That is kind of like the cliche you hear with a lot of Radiohead fans or people that like listening to Radiohead. It doesn't necessarily have to be a melancholy mood. I don't know what that mood is, but I've definitely been in it a lot because I've heard Radiohead a lot. I tend to listen to them in bursts as well, so I'll listen like for weeks or months to a record or a particular playlist of songs, and then I just won't listen to them for ages and then come back and almost like rediscover them again. Starting from Pablo Honey, which was a very good album. It has Creep on it, which is probably their most well-known song, possibly. It was one that broke America for them at the time. It also has another song, Anyone Can Play Guitar, which is very good, and the album's actually is very upbeat. It's not what Radiohead are famous for or known for now. The direction that they went in after the first two or three albums is really like a lot of major key songs, and maybe the lyrics aren't completely upbeat, but the music definitely is. But the album that really stood them apart from other bands is The Bends. That album really got me listening to Radiohead. Every single track on that album for me is outstanding. I listen to all of it. I don't skip any tracks at all. Compared to Pablo Honey, the songwriting is more complex. There's more variety between the different songs. It's more eclectic. And sonically, it's far more interesting. The band have always experimented with different sounds, from Jonny Greenwood, Ed O'Brien, and just all of them really, and Thom Yorke as well, with tape loops and programming. And The Bends is just, yeah, I mean, compared to Pablo Honey and other records at the time, it really stood out. You can watch my cover of The Bends, the song, the title track from that album there, and it's not just that song. I mean, just like I said, all of them, all the tracks are just outstanding. Their third album, OK Computer, which was released, takes us into 1997, widely regarded as their best work. It's constantly voted for in Q and possibly NME. I definitely know Q magazine, #1 album of all time. It has some classic songs on there: Karma Police, Paranoid Android, No Surprises, Lucky, which I've done a cover of, and you can watch that as well. Exit music for a film, and the songwriting in Paranoid Android, for example, is very complex. But it's probably my third or fourth favourite Radiohead album, behind The Bends, Kid A, and possibly Amnesiac. But it elevated them to a different status, and they became absolutely huge after that. And it all got a bit too much for the band, so they sort of took a big break until 2000, where we come on to Kid A. It's probably my favourite Radiohead album. They got bored in between, so after OK Computer, they kind of got bored of writing standard rock songs, so they started to experiment more with different time signatures and different song structures, and the results, I mean, is my favourite Radiohead album. Again, every track, listen to it all, don't skip anything. The lyrics express many of the same themes as before, but the melodies are just as strong. So even though the songs sound vastly different sonically, with time signatures and different song structures. The melodies, that's always been a consistent for me with Radiohead, is that the melodies have always been really, really strong, memorable, interesting, and varied. Amnesiac, the quick follow-up to Kid A, is described as the sister album to Kid A, and apparently it contains a bunch of tracks they recorded after OK Computer for the next album, and they were kind of left over. And Amnesiac has some absolute tunes on it. You and Whose Army, which I've done a cover of as well, is it's probably my favourite track off that album. Pyramid Song, and again with the different time signatures, it's interesting and varied songwriting. And whereas Kid A was more electronic, Amnesiac starting to become a bit more rockier again, and kind of hinting at the direction that they take in the next album, which is Hail to the Thief, which is far more rockier and regarded as going back to more like the Bends and OK Computer. You can hear this in the opening track, 2 + 2 = 5, which is wouldn't sound out of place on any Radiohead album, and it's one of my favourite Radiohead tracks. And Hail to the Thief, got 14 songs on it, a lot more than on previous albums, and it's also great as well. And it's probably the last Radiohead album that I really loved, because after that, with In Rainbows, I wasn't really a big fan of it. But recently, having said that, I was on a long car journey and a friend of mine put on the first half of the album, and I heard it again. I thought, oh, actually, no, this is no, I think I might revisit and listen to that again. King of Limbs didn't really sort of pass me by, and A Moon-Shaped Pool I have heard quite a few times through, and it's good, but it just doesn't suit the mood that I'm in right now. I think it came out 2016, and I just wasn't feeling the kind of the mood of it at all. But it's musically interesting and some decent tunes and songs on there. But it just wasn't my bag at the time. But overall, I have to say their experimentation with sounds and complexity of songwriting and all that sort of stuff is just brilliant. Seen them live 3 or 4 times, and it's incredible how much of the record you hear live, and like actually some like quite complex parts being replicated. I remember Jonny Greenwood and the guitar work he does on Just. It's really, I don't even know how to reproduce the sounds that he makes with the guitar, but it just does it perfectly, exactly like the record, and it's amazing. They are a very, very good band to watch live, and Thom Yorke is more of a showman than you may think. I remember him singing when they did You and Whose Army, and they had like a camera, and he was just like singing into the camera, and the camera on a massive screen, and yeah, they put on a very good show, I must say. But the other thing about Radiohead, and it's always a sign of a really great band, is how good their B-sides are. B-sides and non-album tracks. And Radiohead are completely up there with... So my favourite B-side bands are The Smiths and Oasis. And that's sort of like the benchmark of how good B-sides have to be for me. So if they're as good as the Smiths or Oasis's B-sides, then they're up there. And Radiohead totally are up there. Maquiladora, one of probably almost my favourite Radiohead song, could easily be like Killer Cars, Banana Co, Palo Alto, Polyethylene, Yes I Am, The Trickster, and then probably their most famous B-side, Talk Show Host, which was in the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack, the remake with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. So, you know, if they've got songs as good as those just on singles, then you know they're a good band. Also, they released a single in 2011, The Daily Mail, which has some weird and wonderful chords in it and key changes and a great chorus and maybe not chorus, but great melody running through. And that's a great song as well. And last but not least, Thom Yorke's voice, I absolutely love. I've heard Thom Yorke say in an interview that he has a voice that not everyone wants to listen to, which I just find crazy. I think that's mad. He's got an absolutely beautiful voice and I love it. His singing he's a great singer, absolutely great singer. So that covers what I think of Radiohead. In the next video, I'll be teaching you the riff to Airbag, but also actually how to play Airbag and the chords to it as well, which is the opening track of OK Computer. So if you enjoyed this video, click like, subscribe if you want to see more of the same stuff. And until next time, I'll see you later.
Con might say,